Welcome to the Grow Renaissance podcast. Let's nourish the world.
All right, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Grow Renaissance podcast. Today, we have an exciting, very basic and principle-based show on a lot of the questions that we get about the system that the Grow Renaissance and the Grow blockchain are built on. So today, we are here with Scott Touchton. If you're watching on video, I know my lighting's a little off, but the reason is it's a beautiful day. We are here in Switzerland in having some amazing meetings of some of the best blockchain and crypto minds in the world about how we build a truly decentralized platform to decentralize the food industry, decentralize ag, and put the power back into both the farmers, the producers, and us as the consumers who eat food. And so today we have a community member, a Grow node owner, and active runner with Scott Touchton. He is a blockchain expert, and it's exciting today to really give us blockchain 101. Why have we decided to start the Grow blockchain? What is the purpose of it? And then how do we interact with it? What is the importance of it? What are some of the key terms in the blockchain? So Scott, welcome. Maybe give us a little bit of your background on how you got here, and maybe also even why are you a Grow node owner?
For the free meat, honestly, not free meat, but I get to buy meat with the utility of the tokens that I earn. How cool is that? Um, I've been involved in crypto for a few years and marketing and different fun things like that, and I just truly enjoy the community atmosphere and also just educating other community members. I feel as a community member, that's what it's all about, is helping grow from within. No pun intended there. But yeah, no, I think there's a lot of crypto and blockchain projects out there that have no utility, have no real world application. We're just hoping that the price of the coin that has the frog's picture on it makes us rich, and that's not the future. And projects like Grow, with real world applications, real world utility, real world assets that have, I could earn the reward from hosting my node and then buy steaks and feed my friends and family. And I think it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
That's beautiful. So I love, you talked a little bit about there are differences just like there are in everything in blockchain projects and crypto projects. And there is a reason why we brought all of the problems and the things that we're trying to solve, the vision that we have here with Grow, to the blockchain. And that's a new world for everyone. I remember jumping in about 2.5 years ago, and there was all this new vocabulary, new things. And maybe you could take a few minutes, explain to us in the simplest way you can, what is blockchain?
I would love to. So I like to poke fun at myself a little bit. I'm just a guy with a public education from Alabama, so I need to convert things that I understand. And so blockchain, most people, the I guess commonly accepted definition is a distributed ledger. But what does that mean? And I like to compare blockchain to a game of pickup basketball. And if you dial it down, okay, so you've got a bunch of people playing a game together. There's no referee, so there's no centralization. So the game is decentralized. Everyone that's playing understands the rules of basketball. There's no coaches or referee to say, hey, these are the rules we're going to play by. So that's consensus. The distributed ledger is there's no scoreboard. So everyone is keeping track of the score in their head. So if you're playing 5-on-5, you got 10 people agreeing on what the score is. And if one of those 10 people is like, no, the score is this, no, the score is this, he's either got to convince those other 9, or those other 9 are going to say, no, you're out. And that's the consensus of a blockchain and a distributed ledger. If you've got, say, 1,000 nodes and they're all sharing data and they're saying, this is the ledger we're agreeing upon, and then one is different, well, do you kick that one out? And so that's the easiest way that I've come across to explain blockchain. Like I said, it's just the game of pickup basketball.
It's amazing. And I think when we looked at what needs to change in the ag industry and the way that we produce and consume the food, the way that we nourish the world, the power needs to go back to the people, to the users, to the people that are actually creating and using it. And it kind of becomes this true republic, this consensus around what are the best ways to do it, regardless of one massive group lobbying for one thing that may or may not be accurate. And that's the thing that I get really excited about, is because when you start looking at, even if we continue the basketball analogy, which I love, for those of you that know me, know basketball was the love of my life for a very good amount of time of it. But getting to a place where the people that you're playing with, the people that you're competing both with and against, everybody can agree. And it comes into really the power of the players. The power is in the hand of the players, and that's what we want to do. We want to put the power back into the hands of the producers, who we feel like has lost that, and also the trust and transparency into us as the consumers of where we're going. So with that, Scott, I want to go into, there's a whole new language in blockchain. Even blockchain, crypto, people come in. You mentioned a couple things in that story, and maybe we can go back and really define those on even a deeper level. And so let's start with consensus. What does consensus mean in our world?
Yeah, so one thing, let me back up if I may. Like, I think that this industry, or this group has created it, like you said, its own language barrier to entry. And it's like we're trying to keep people out by making it overly complicated.
Can I say
And
one thing right here, Scott? Because
yeah,
this is exactly what I thought about when we talked about the basketball analogy. Is we're going into that analogy, we're assuming that people understand the rules of basketball, right? And so what we are trying to do, guys, in this podcast is help you understand the rules of the game of blockchain, because now there's no barrier to entry. We all assume we know how to play basketball. That's great. But what about the kid that comes from where they don't play basketball, wherever that is, and comes in? He's probably going to move out and he's not going to add a lot of value. If you want to add value and you believe in the things that we're doing to nourish the world, this is why we're talking about this, is because now the barrier of entry in the next 20 minutes is going to be gone, and you're going to understand the rules of engagement to help us accomplish what we're doing. Because without that, it's just me and Scott here and we're playing one-on-one. We don't want to play one-on-one. We want as many people in the game as possible. So I just want to get that point across. Keep going, Scott.
Will, I've stood shoulder to shoulder with you. I don't want to play you one on one in basketball. Maybe we could find some other sport where I might have an advantage. But yeah, so going back, so if you look at like Web3, I've seen your presentation. It's a great presentation, but Web3 alone is a confusing term, or node, or gas fee, all these different things, or like you said, consensus. Consensus is just agreeing. It's agreement. So all the nodes, all the parts of the network, all the ledger has to agree or reconcile with itself. So consensus is just all these nodes coming to an understanding and agreeing on data.
Love it. Love
Um,
it. Keep going.
one of my one of my other kind of pet peeves is gas fee, right? Like, why do we have to call it gas fee? Why can't we say transaction fee or network fee? Like, if you're looking at, like, hey, I'm coming from traditional finance or traditional banking, and I'm used to dealing with traditional banks. If you say, like, I'm used to paying a transaction fee, I'm used to paying a network fee, I know what that means. Or wallet, why don't we say account? Like, why don't we, like, but no, let's try to make it as complicated as possible. And I'm not picking on Grow, I'm not picking on anybody. It's like an industry thing. Seed recovery phrase. What about recovery password? Or encryption password is like your PIN number at your bank. If you're going to make a transaction, you need to use your PIN number. It's not your login password. You log into your bank, your Wells Fargo or whatever, with your login password. But if you're going to send money or you're going to do something, you've got to use a PIN word or your PIN number. So, encryption password, trading password is usually what's used in crypto blockchain technology. But yeah, nodes is like, my printer on my home network is a node. It's a unit or a piece on a larger network. I can keep going, but I think I've covered some of the high points there. I'll toss it back to you.
Okay, perfect. So you've really outlined for us what it is that we're doing to create the Grow blockchain, which I believe is the foundation for us to have a true renaissance in the way that we nourish ourselves in the world. And so the first part of that is running a node, having this active data processor that's going. And once that node runs, as a reward for processing all of the data that we then put on the blockchain, which is a decentralized blockchain, and that's where we're going to end, is what is decentralization. We're going to come back to that question. But you have a node, it runs, and as a reward for running that power and that electricity and that node network, you're rewarded in a native Grow token. And that token can then be used on our blockchain in exchange for products and services that are built on top of the Grow blockchain. So let's now move into, we have the node network. Being a node owner and running that gives you also the opportunity to not only mine the native Grow token, but to vote on what happens in the blockchain by providing consensus. Now let's talk about that token just for a second on how we use that and how we kind of move it around between blockchains. So let's start with, what are layers in blockchain? Because I say often in content like this that we are our own base layer blockchain that is completely focused on nourishing the world. So can you define a little bit what it is I'm talking about when I say that?
Yeah, so typically, you've got your like layer ones is what a lot of people refer to them as. So Bitcoin is a layer one, Ethereum is a layer one, uh, Grow is layer one, but we'll come back to that, right? But meaning they don't need anybody. Ethereum doesn't need anybody else. Ethereum operates independently of other blockchains and it does its thing. Now you've got a lot of like layer twos that kind of piggyback, right? So a layer two might be like, hey, Will, do you want to build this code with me? And we're just going to build on top of Ethereum, and that'd be a layer two. I've used the analogy for layer two. It's like a service road off the interstate, like where I could just hop on and hop back off, but it's not going to get me across the country. That's Ethereum's I-10, right? So, Ethereum is the layer one. Now, Grow is a layer one as well. However, these tokens, these native tokens on the Grow blockchain, we might want to interact with the Ethereum blockchain. And on the Ethereum, there's a lot of value and reasons why you might want to interact with the Ethereum blockchain. And if it's the Grow blockchain islands over here and the Ethereum blockchain islands over here. Well, guess what terminology they chose? We can use a bridge, Will.
That's perfect. And so it bridges over. And so you could take a native Grow token, bridge that into what we call an ERC20 token. And now you get to use that on the island of Ethereum. We can also bridge over to the island of Binance. And now we can play. And now we're interconnected to these other base layer blockchains. You had mentioned some of the things about being our own layer one and the value to that. Can you add a little bit to that, Scott, on, it took a lot of money, a lot of effort to build our own base layer. And I'll add one thing and then see if you have anything to add to it, which is we chose to be our own base layer on the Grow blockchain because we believe that the problems that we're solving are big enough. This is a worldwide problem. Every single person has to eat. And so there's enough product, there's enough technology that can be built within and on top of the base of the Grow blockchain that we can do a lot of good in the world.
So one thing I want to add, and absolutely, I love that question. I like to add we as node owners. So like myself included, I'm a Grow node owner. We own and control the future of the Grow blockchain. So if I've got an idea of, hey, I think Grow's mission, like I think this thing right here we could do, I could submit a proposal to the Grow blockchain DGF. Sorry, we're going back to confusing words here, but distributed governance framework. Okay, let's just dumb that down to self-governing. So self-governing blockchain. Me as a community member could submit a proposal, and then me and all my node owner buddies, of the Grow blockchain, we vote on it, and we decide the future. Following these missions and values of nourishing the world and and feeding the world.
I love it. And that leads us to the point of decentralization, which is blockchain is an amazing technology that's being leveraged in a lot of different ways, very similar to AI. And the structure that we have built and that we are building upon is the key differentiator for us. And so, Scott, you and I were talking earlier today. There are companies that are leveraging blockchain as a technology, not in the same decentralized way that we're using it. And so it becomes a tech that is built on the same centralized system, which has led to the current problems that we're in now. So, will you enlighten us a little bit on what is decentralization? You talked a little bit about the DGF or self-governance around that, and expand a little bit on decentralization.
Yeah, so a couple easy examples from the Alabama public education system. So
Well, you said I-10, and it kind of gave you away of where you were from.
so okay, so if the bank is a great centralization example. So if the main server at the bank goes out, I can't get money out of the ATM. You know, if the bank is closed on Sunday, I can't. There's nothing I can do. Or if the server that the bank runs off of is in the part of the country and there's a blizzard and they lose power, well, all the other branches have to close. I mean, that's pure centralization. But then if it's decentralization and it's spread out, and let's say the Grow blockchain node network has nodes all over the world. Um, but in the northeastern United States, there's a blizzard, and 20 or 40 of the nodes are offline because of a power outage. The blockchain is completely uninterrupted. The blockchain does not miss a beat because all these other nodes are interconnected and step up, and there's no central point of failure. Where the centralization system, there's a central point of failure. And that goes down like to the pure essence of blockchain and decentralization is no central point of failure and being spread out and all working together.
Beautiful. It makes me think about also what we are built on, which is proof of action, and how we actually benefit everyone involved, because you have this decentralized network with no single point of failure that allows it to run in a global way. And I was just looking at some stats on some website visitors to the Grow site, and it's been in over 146 countries in the last month. So we are very, very global. We talk to people all over the world. This is a worldwide mission to nourish the world. It's not just nourish the United States or nourish Switzerland where we are right now, but it's truly to nourish the world. Talk to us a little bit about this proof of action, because in the blockchain world, you have proof of stake, proof of work, proof of action. We were speaking a little bit today on how kind of proof of action combines every positive that we see in the blockchain space. Can you define that a little bit for us?
Yeah, so all these different things you're saying, proof of blank, right? Or basically different types of algorithms that blockchains could base themselves off of. What do they want to reward people for? And we want to reward. Grow wants to reward people for action. Taking part in. At what level do you want to, as a community member, as a node owner, at what level do you want to participate? And then based on your participation level, that's the reward level for participation. At the very entry level was your node online today? Was your node online today? Okay, yes. Okay, well, you get today's distribution, and that is proof of action. Like, I did something by hosting my node online. Now, it might have just been paying a monthly VPS service, but I did that to put my nodes online to make sure I'm contributing as a community member to the Grow blockchain. So therefore, I receive a daily distribution for that action I've taken. Now, there's different levels of participation and action. Austin Allred is a lot more active than I am, but at the same time, there's different levels of community. But a community coming together, everybody plays their part. That's how you get to your mission and goals.
I love it. So speaking of mission and goals, Scott, you are a community member. You run a Grow node, multiple Grow nodes. when you have a moment here, talk to the community. What do you see as the future of Grow, and what do you want to tell the community in this little minute here?
I see the future of Grow as utility for the project in the real world, what already is, but increased. But also, like, I can imagine like an economy around the Grow token, to where, okay, this farm, like I earned the Grow node, I have the Grow node for my participation. There are farms that are willing to accept that as payment for their services that they've put in, their blood, sweat, and tears, and this cow and getting it to butcher and all these things. And then now they have the Grow token. I would love a future that, okay, now their vendors see the value in the Grow token, and then they can take this Grow token and create that economy around people with that similar mission and drive. And when this farm receives the token, they can pay their vendor in the Grow token, because that farmer knows that then they could either sell the token in the market to other people that want to participate in this economy, or they can turn around and spend it on the next step of the economy.
I love it. I want to end with how we get there. How we get there is building a community of people that believe in what we are doing. And so when you look at every podcast episode, every piece of content, when you look at the mission and the projects that are being built on top of the Grow blockchain, what are we trying to do? We are trying to create a renaissance and a community of people that believe in knowing what went into growing, where their food came from, what was the nutrient density of it, what was the effect on the soils, on the atmosphere, and really taking care of the planet that we live in, including ourselves, the plants and animals. And we get to that place where we've created a full circle decentralized economy by first and foremost running the data processors, the nodes that run that, so that we have it in a decentralized way. I read an article today of somebody that was doing a project very similar to us. And in the line, I won't say the company, but it said XY company owns all of the nodes. What does that mean? That means that that company is leveraging blockchain tech in a similar way, but they own it all. That is the problem. When you look at the food industry today, it is essentially controlled by 10 companies that are all for profit. And that's an amazing thing. We all want to make money. We want to create value in the world, but we want to give the power to the people that are actually using it, to the producers, to the people that are eating, and all have a say by proof of action. Who's taking the most positive actions to nourish the world in the best way by the rules set by the entire decentralized community, not by one person who had an idea. We go back to that basketball game analogy, right? If we have 6 people coming in to play a pickup game, and all of a sudden 4 people who have no idea how to play basketball try and turn it into a soccer game, well, guess what? They're still going to learn how to play basketball, and they're either going to be removed, and those 6 are going to win. But let's take that another way, right? Let's say we actually are in a basketball gym, and me and you, Scott, show up with the basketball, but there's 8 people there with the soccer ball, and they say, hey, we actually think the best thing to do right now with our time is to play soccer. Well, guess who wins? It's a true voting system moving into true consensus in a decentralized way, where you have to believe that a rising tide raises all ships, and that as a community of people, we will always do better with our own diversity, with bringing as many people in as possible. And that's where you get the best, not just having one really, really big ship rise to the top and say, okay, I win because I'm the biggest one in the game. Right. So thank you, Scott, for being here today. Hopefully this podcast helps you guys a little bit understand the blockchain side of this renaissance and the keys to how it works and how we can build on it, with some of the key terms that generally become a barrier to entry. Now, we will be having more podcasts on key terms, eliminating that as many barriers as we can. And in one of our next episodes, we're actually going to bring on John Madsen, who is a lawyer in this space, is amazing at what is decentralization. So we're going to dive more and more into that. But Scott, thank you for being here today, and thanks for being a Grow community member.
Thanks for having me.
Yep. See you guys. Make sure you like, subscribe, share this with as many people as possible. We'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Grow Renaissance podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe this episode. Remember, it will take a community of us to do the best in the world and truly nourish not only ourselves, but the planet, the atmosphere, the soil, the plants, and the animals on it. So make sure you spread this message anywhere that you can.